I am recording. So, hello and welcome to day 4 of Healing Money Talks. My name is Emma Lucy Wall and I am delighted to have you here. So, before I introduce today's guest, I invite you to put your mobile phone on silent or airplane mode, put the kettle on, relax, make yourself a cup of tea, sit down, make yourself comfortable, and give yourself the gift of listening and hearing. You never know what little gem you might hear as our conversation unfolds. So, my very special guest today is Alison Hodge. I met Alison when we were both studying Sarah McCrum's Thank You Money course. And Alison has the most amazing and inspiring story, which she's telling publicly for the first time today with me. So thank you so much, Alison. Now, my healing journey has been very much an emotional one. And Alison's, I think, would be more described as physical, although I don't know. Do you want to tell everybody your story, Alison, and then they can make up their own minds?
Sure. First of all, thank you, Emma, for having me here and allowing me to share my story on your platform. So I appreciate that and I'm very grateful. Thank you. So, my story, I would say it's a combination of both emotional and physical. Some people get a tap on the shoulder, like, or make the change before the brick. You did. I didn't. I needed the physical brick to
Mm.
make the transformation. But I'm grateful for it nonetheless.
Oh, so what was your brick? What exactly happened?
Well, I'll share with you my story, and feel free to stop and ask me any questions in between that you'd like. So in April, May of 2019, I
Mhm.
was experiencing back pain. So I went to the emergency room a couple times, popped a lot of Advils, didn't work, didn't help. When I went in May of 2019, I showed them a spot on my breast, which I thought was from a bruising that I had occurred from lifting something. My doctor said, no, let's get this checked out. I think you have a tumor. It needs to be checked. So they checked it. And then in June 2019, I was officially diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer or breast cancer. They said,
Mhm.
forget about the back. The breast is more important. And then I keep saying, I can't even lift a bottle of water. I'm in extreme pain. And then we found out that it metastasized, which means it's stage 4. It metastasized and spread to my neck, to my spine, causing compression fractures in my neck and in the middle of my back.
Oh.
So they called me, say, where are you? I said, I'm at home. They say, stay at home. We have a direct admit to the hospital for you. Uh, because if you laugh, cough, move, drive, hit a pothole, and the wrong way, you could be paralyzed. So, yeah. So the next day, I was in the hospital, admitted.
So was it inside the bones? Was it inside the vertebra?
No, what happens is that the tumors attach themselves to the spine and degenerate the spine. So there were fractures up and down the spine, but there were two compression fractures, maybe from movement, from lifting, whatever I did, that caused the compression fracture. So once the spine compresses, there's no way to lift it back up. So literally, it's almost like my neck was broken.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and in the middle
And
of my back. Yeah.
and your response to this is what's really, I mean, that in itself is quite a thing, but Alison's story, the way Alison responded is just unbelievable. So how did you respond? What did you do?
Well, for the first week, when I got the cancer diagnosis before I was admitted to the hospital, I was staring at the wall. I was staring at the wall saying, not why me, but how did this happen? Because, I was a healthy eater. I
Hmm.
think good thoughts. I thought I was kind to people. I think I'm a kind person. So I couldn't really put my finger on, I know it wasn't food. I just didn't feel that way. And they did the genetic testing and I didn't have the gene for it. So I had this awakening in that moment, which actually I started to apologize to myself, and I said that I neglected you. You know, um, I apologize. I'm sorry, which I now learn is the Hopo'ono, something like that technique.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's instinctive that I did that, and I was apologizing and saying, I'm sorry, I neglected you. I allowed outside people, places, and things to influence my ability to do anything, or to think that I was stuck, or I had to live in overwhelm and struggle.
Yeah.
And I apologize. I'm sorry. I said, I fed you organic. Now I need you to wake up and do what you were created to do. So I asked the cells, and it's literally in that moment that I felt like everything turned on inside of me. Like the
Mm.
cells jumped up and said, "Hey, she's back online." And and in that moment, it guided me, which was guiding me to the right doctors, and guided me to the doctor saying, "Come into the hospital." So now I'm in the hospital. I had to have surgery in about 7 to 10 days. And while I'm in the hospital, I kind of reframed where I was. I said, this is not the hospital room. It's my five-star luxury suite. My hospital gown is my white robe. The people that are coming to help me are not nurses or servants. We're working on a particular project, a specific project. And I have treetop views. And uh, coincidentally, my room was the only room I can see the fireworks for July. So go figure. so so I kind of repurposed the room. That was the first thing I did, and then I just kind of was very cognizant of the environment, meaning the people that I told I was ill, because I only wanted positive energy, not sympathy and pity, but compassion and empathy,
Yeah.
because those I believe is are healing energies that anyone can send to you. And it just wasn't instinctively knowing to, or choosing, I should say,
Yes.
to
About choice, didn't we?
yeah, everything in life is about choice.
Mm.
And choosing that, and I somehow got guided to the right orthopedic surgeon, who looked at me on the table and said he was gonna clean up as much of those tumors on the spine that he can at the last minute, right just before surgery. And I somehow instinctively knew that I was gonna be fine. He was going to do a lot of the work. So I was diagnosed in June. By August, my numbers were back in the normal range. Just to give you an example, the normal markers are between 0 and 40, and in June I was at 373. But by August, I was back down to 23.
Wow.
By
In
November,
2 months.
yeah, and it was like 8 weeks or something like that. Yeah. By November, all the tumors were gone. And the two spots that were in my brain had disappeared on their own, and so forth. Yeah. So it's and it was in the moment of being diagnosed that I chose who I wanted to be and what I wanted to attract into my life. And this was a teaching that I had gotten before, and it was, I believe it was also instrumental in the mindset that I had
Hmm.
going into it, not looking at the worst, but envisioning the best
Yeah.
outcome, and trusting that, and not being fearful of the possibility of, the truth was I didn't know if I had the next day.
Yeah. But you held that vibration throughout.
I
And
held, go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, you talked a lot the other day about gratitude.
Yes. I believe that that's the frequency to anything, for anything to manifest, to live in gratitude, meaning grateful for what you've been through, you know, grateful for the moment that you're in right now and the things to come. And I believe when I was being grateful and thankful and appreciative for every moment of my experience, every millisecond, every doctor that came in, every nurse that came in, the janitor that came in, the people that brought the food, which I consider my five-star menu every day, the people in rehab, just being grateful for every experience, then more of those experiences came for me to be grateful for. So we talk about money and energy and healing. It's all an energy, and it's It's all an energy of love,
Mm.
and and being grateful for that, for that feeling, and
And when
that.
you stay in that repeatedly, repeat. I mean, did you have to actively make that choice day after day?
You know what? Someone asked me that before, and I believe that once you choose it, you don't actively keep making the choice. You're just it. You become it. You be it.
Become it. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you have to keep making the choice, you didn't really choose.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But when you choose it, you just end up being it. You embody it. You live it. Everything you do, everything you say, how you speak, how you talk, how you move, how you walk, when someone comes in, you're living it. It's not a practice that you're trying to embody, it's
Mm.
something you become. And I think that's our innate nature. So when you connect with that, it becomes easy. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in
I've
that makes
heard you talk, or have I imagined this, about everything just lined up. I can see you doing this with your hands, or maybe I completely projected that because it feels like that moment where you chose you were going to be well.
yeah.
Everything just went, okay, we're here. We're here. We're ready for you.
Yeah.
How can we help?
I believe that what you're saying. I think there's something about thought, word, and deed, body, mind, and spirit being in alignment.
Mm,
And when everything is in alignment, everything it works together for good, as they say. You know, it all comes together, everything lines up. There's nothing that can come in the path that's not in alignment with who you're being.
hmm
There's no illness that can come in there. There's nothing that's not in alignment with love and goodness and gratitude. Nothing that doesn't match with that frequency or that healing power um, can be in that flow, like the school of fish flowing, you
Yeah,
know. Yeah, nothing can be in that current, if you will.
yeah,
Um, if anything that it can't get in, and anything that doesn't belong is discarded. And that's how I believe inside of me was also operating. You don't belong here. Anything illness doesn't belong here because
mm,
this is it doesn't match the vibration of what's in here. So that for me, yeah, it was the key. Yeah.
I'm getting an image of the vortex. Um, when it's spinning and
Mhm.
something tries to get on, a bit like a merry-go-round. It's going so
Yeah.
fast that there's just no way it can get through and past that sort of spinning energy.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it too. And I always say that, the beautiful thing about the vortex is you can reach in and grab whatever you want from it because it's all there for your choosing, you
Yeah.
know. So it's a beautiful thing, yeah. It's a beautiful thing. You spin out the bad and you keep in the good, or however you want to phrase it. But when I look back at it, I realized that the reason why I didn't have those thoughts about death or anything like that, and I was more on the side of I trust you. It was the gratitude, the trust, the allowing, the acceptance of where I was. I was lining up with just being in love with this moment and trusting this very moment. So if I had a thought that didn't suit me, I would just shake my head and say, I don't know how this is going to be, but I trust you. I wasn't attached to any particular thing. I was just living in the moment, and then that moment just became the next and the next and the next until right this moment. Yeah.
And it goes on.
It continues to go on. Yeah, exactly.
And so, if you were faced with somebody who was wanting to do what you did, what would be your absolute top tips for for being well?
I would first start in a place of reflection.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would first start there because you have to be okay with where you're at and how you got there.
Yeah.
And there is reflection allows for us to take some responsibility in. I mean, if we can create what it is that we want, then we have to understand that we create what it is that we have already.
Yes.
So reflection allows us to take some responsibility for who we're being and then choosing to be someone different and embodying that and then visualizing that and staying in that new choice, and declaring that and be with conviction for yourself. So I would say that would be the first step in the process. And in fact, that's how I would put it. Yeah.
That was your staring at the wall moment.
That was my staring at the wall moment. It was instinctive reflection because it wasn't that I was in denial, but I couldn't comprehend if it was related to not eating well or doing this. That wasn't me.
Mhm.
But I did neglect myself in a year or so leading up to that, where I created the environment in my body that allowed this to happen.
Okay, and
So,
what
I'm sorry, go ahead.
do you mind saying what that neglect was?
Neglect is overwhelm,
Okay.
stress, allowing outside situations to dictate your emotional feelings, whether it's people, family, financial circumstances, or working too much, or I was in the middle of the process of moving and I wasn't eating the way I was before as healthily. I was picking the best things I can eat, but I was eating on the run and not cooking as much at home.
Right.
um, and that was directly related to me moving, and my moving environment changed, and then kind of giving up on yourself. I
Mm,
think there's a part of me that gave up on me because the struggle I allowed the struggle to take over that, you know,
mm,
and if I'm honest with myself, and I think back 4 years, there was a period where I had a little bit of overwhelm, where my heart was beating fast, and nothing was wrong with my heart, but I thought something was, but nothing was wrong with my heart. And I did deep breathing. So this is why your work is so important, Kundalini yoga and so forth.
yeah.
Breathing and cleansing myself that way instinctively, and everything went back to normal. But I would say, if I really think about it, that was my tap on the shoulder that you need to change things.
Right. And you ignored it.
Yeah. And in 4 years, I might have had some imbalance in there, but the year leading up to what happened to me was the break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
the work that you've done since, I mean, we met with Thank You Money, but I was talking to somebody earlier about who's also going to be one of my speakers, and we were saying that really the money work is actually quite a small part of the whole body of work, because once you start getting involved with energy, money is just a small part of it, isn't it? But when we bring love into money, when we bring love into everything, we all just thrive so much more. I mean, I see you as such a light being. I didn't know you before, but I only see this lovely shine that you have around you of brightness. Were you always like that?
um I think that might be the good thing, is that life prepared me and conditioned me to be that. So when the circumstance happened, I was able to either make a choice to step into who I was being prepared to be,
Hmm.
or I could run back in the box and live in overwhelm and now say why and go the wrong way. So I would say I would say yes. I was being prepared in life for that moment. Um, I would say yes, and you're right. I think the beautiful thing about, because all the worry I had about finances and so forth prior to what happened to me, when I got ill, I worked on commission, as an insurance agent and so forth. So when I got ill, I couldn't do any of that. I had to literally just let go, allow, and surrender,
Hmm.
right? And just live in a place of being grateful for 1 millisecond of life.
Yeah.
And all of my finances were actually taken care of
Uh,
through me,
it,
the weirdest kind of way, you know. But my everything was still taken care of. So it was almost like the trusting and allowing and the love created the energy of the money, the healing, the new relationships. Some people run away, that's okay. But the ones that were there, I have a new, stronger relationship with. Um, So it's one of those beautiful things that happen. And I know when you, like you said, we met on Sarah McCrum's Thank You Money. And one of the things that she said, and this was after the experience that I met her, and I never really looked at it that way before, was that money was an energy of love, and it wants to find a place that it can spread this love,
Hmm.
spread
And
this
you
conduit.
were a pretty good starting point, really, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, yeah. So, and then it connects you with all these beautiful peoples to help them with to spread the love of money, like yourself, you
Yeah.
know. So we all become conduits for this energy. And if we
Yeah.
just take that blueprint, for me it was healing, for you was emotional relationships, and so forth. And we take that blueprint and we put it in other areas of our lives, the same thing can happen.
Yeah.
It's just how do we do it? Yeah, we keep
And I
working.
love what you've talked about with the people who you knew weren't going to be so helpful for your recovery, just letting them go, but again with love. I feel like anybody, there was no resentment, there was no bitterness, there was no animosity. You just released what you didn't need and kept what you did need close to you.
I mean, realistically, there is disappointment because those are the people that you chose to tell. Because I didn't tell everybody. I chose
Mm,
only a handful of people, and the few people that I told, I thought that they would want to be on this journey with me, and they choose not to. But remember, we all have choice. So I don't fault you for your choice because I know that what you're choosing for you is also not best for me.
yeah.
Because had if I try to draw you in, the energy that I'm going to be receiving is not going to be conducive to the environment I'm trying to create. So
Mm,
you have to kind of, sometimes when you choose to be something, not everything that you had in your past comes along with you for the new vibration of who you're being.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for us to step into if our vibration is changing and if we can feel that. And there's something very familiar about the people that have been with us. And obviously when you're in real sort of crisis like you were, it's easier to release that.
Yeah.
You're
You
reminding
have
me.
to. Hmm.
Sorry?
I think you have to let it go in order to facilitate the new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as Sarah in Sarah's work, she always talks about how when we fully relax and release, and we literally drop the energy away from our cells and our
Hmm.
molecules and our atoms, the energy that's not serving us, it makes room for the new energy to come in. And without that release, it all just gets
Nowhere
stuck,
to go. Yeah.
which
And
is
that goes for, yeah, the people. And when you make a new choice of who you're going to be in relation to healing or relationships or anything else, you have to realize not everything that, even the things, some of the things that you like and you want to come with you are not going to be part of
yeah.
the new you.
Mm,
So you have to bless it for the reason, for the season that it came into your life, and let it go. Yeah. Yeah, that's the beautiful part. And I know, like, the work that you do with the energies in the different areas, it's all about cleansing those areas too, and vibrational energies, So yeah.
and staying fresh and staying open, because we're very tethered to what, when I say we, I'm talking about our species.
Hmm.
We're used to the way we've done things, and people like their comfort, don't they? They like to be in the space that's familiar to them. But sometimes, yeah, to have big shifts, we have to be prepared to move forward and to open up to stuff that we don't know yet.
Yeah. And there's one thing I know for certain. For every person or thing that doesn't belong in the new vibration, it is replaced with 10 times as much. That I know for certain. Because I've seen for those that chose not to be part of the journey,
Yeah,
however they chose to show up or not show up or lessen the amount of support or show up that they give, that those spaces were filled with maybe 100 more people. When I say 100, that's kind of being over fictitious, but I saw people I didn't even know giving me thumbs up and ushering me to healing. And I have contacts now that they constantly check to see how I'm doing. And they were not even strangers before. They were strangers before. I didn't even know them or never even seen them before in my life. So you have to be willing to let go so that you can be filled with this new um, energy of
Mm.
people, places, and things and events that will usher you to whatever it is that you want to be or desire. Yeah.
Yeah, and you also, I love your story about taxi drivers. I remember when you first told me your story, you told me about taxi drivers.
Yeah, I'm surprised you remember that. Yeah, I was getting because I couldn't drive, I had a neck brace and a back brace on, and I had to go to the hospital for treatment
Yeah.
and physical therapy and all this stuff. I would have they would have Uber drivers come and get me. The taxi drivers, Uber drivers. And it was so interesting that everyone that came and get me had a message for me of some sort.
Mm.
Ask big, think big. You can have everything that you want. Chew broccoli sprouts. You have things to do. God bless you. Everyone had a spiritual message. So I don't think that's coincidence. I think when you're in alignment, you attract everything that like attracts like, or anything or everything to keep you on the motivational, the inspirational journey that you're on. So I knew I was going to be well because everything that was coming around me was telling me that.
Yeah.
It was literally telling me that. You
And
know,
you were hearing, and you were looking for you were looking for your messages and hearing them
absolutely.
in every corner.
Absolutely. I think that's also key to it. Look for the opportunities and say yes to them, and listen to the messages and say yes to them and hear them.
Mm.
And because how is it that these strangers would just somehow, and then they had stories of their own. Some of them had illness stories or people that they know, or some were big bad people and then they turned to good, nice, kind people. So I've heard so many stories in those, what was it, 32 Uber visits, Uber trips that were, so, but yeah, yeah, that was the amazing part of it. Every person you meet starts sharing with you a story, but they also give you like a message. They tell you something.
Mm.
Some of them just bluntly tell you something, and they want to stay in touch, or they want to hear the rest of the story, or yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah.
And
So
what's next? I know you haven't quite decided what you, but you feel quite called, aren't you? That there's something to do with your story.
Yeah, absolutely, Emma. Thank you for saying that, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel inside me that there's something, this story is meant to impact, inspire someone else to see what they can do. I was part of this group that tells you about your two powers, and, which is who you're being and what you're attracting. They're directly related.
Mm.
And so I believe that what happened to me in this transformation in what I'm continuously going through is um is evidence of something that needs to be, maybe inspire, give impact, hope to someone else. Not so much hope, but belief
Yeah.
to someone else. Um, so you can stay in hope for a long time. That's like buffering.
Yes.
you know.
No, it's a dodgy. Well, it's a funny word, isn't it? I often say I trust. I trust you are well, or I trust things are going because it's got more power
It
somehow.
does.
Somebody shared that with me, and even though certainly in England it sounds a little bit pompous. Oh, I trust you're well.
No, but I prefer to trust you're well than hope you're well.
Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
like you say, hope has got there's something a little bit. It's a bit out there, isn't it? It doesn't
Yes.
have the same.
Hoping, wishing, wanting, maybe,
Mm, mm.
possibly. It's the spark. It starts there, but it doesn't stay there. You have to go from hope to trust to faith, or faith to trust, or something. You have to move it, shift it from one space to the next.
And I know
Um,
that you're very keen that your work and your experience and your story, rather than be in a space around illness, am I right in saying that you would rather be, it was being used not as a blanket, but as a beacon, maybe?
yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I I'm a firm believer in who you surround yourself with, you take on the energy. You know, if you talk to someone on the phone and they're always down, 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 at the end of the call, you're like, you feel that,
Yeah, of
you know.
course.
And it doesn't negate what other people are going through in the cancer space or anything like that. But for me, my transformation felt so deep that I couldn't possibly complain about maybe the discomfort in my back because of everything I went through and how I turned around. 99.99% of me is well. And I wanted to be in an energy of people who are looking forward and inspired and motivated to move forward and see themselves as healthy and whole. And maybe from a preventative standpoint, I can get to the newly diagnosed as opposed to the ones that are already in,
Yeah.
perhaps, maybe, or just an individual before they get the brick like I did,
Mm.
um, to heal their relationships. Yeah.
Well, shall we put out a little bit of trust into the universe that you telling your story in this environment is going to land somewhere with somebody having a cup of tea and relaxing and hearing this is going to think "Ding," that some of the connections will come together because
Well,
it's an incredible story and it is completely inspirational. I mean, I my thing it was depression for me, and when I realized that I could actually shift up my energy and it didn't have to own me, I could
yes.
own it.
Hmm.
That was my shift. But I can still drop back into it from time to time, and I think maybe when it's really physical like that and you have that incredible recovery that you had, that must just shore up it must shore up your trust completely.
I think it cleanses a lot of past emotional beliefs. I feel like maybe 2/3 of it was cleansed. I think there's still more to go. And that's the beauty of life. You're constantly getting to the space of maybe full enlightenment of some sort. But I would say that it cleansed a lot of things from the past that I don't have to work on cleaning up because it was such a big thing that I believe that it cleansed a lot of that. It removed a lot of that. Where some people say, oh, you still have to do this. No, I don't have to think about that anymore because I think and I can feel in my spirit it doesn't bother me anymore because it doesn't suit me anymore. It's no longer vibrating inside me causing disease. So I believe a lot of that was cleaned up. There's still some remnants of other things that could that give me work to do, which is in life. That's what we need. We need work to do, which is a good thing. But the good thing about what happened is I get to use the experience to approach it differently.
Mm,
So it doesn't make me ill. So I have a blueprint now in which to approach other issues of my life. So I think that's the beauty of transformation because of one thing, it gives you knowledge and information or intelligence,
mm,
to deal with the other areas of your life. And I always say our words have command. And
yeah,
I saw that when I told myself to do what you were created to do. That
mm,
was powerful. That's all they know how to do was to heal, fix.
yeah,
That's all they know how they do that every day, 24/7, even when I'm sleeping. So
yeah,
to command them to do what they know how to do was like giving them ice cream, muffins, like giving them what I love, muffins. So, um, so yeah, so I trust that the universe will connect me as it has with you, Emma. So I would say I'm grateful and I'm thankful because I think it already started that.
yeah,
Yeah.
me too. Well, listen, Alison, thank you so, so, so much for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for your incredible honesty. And the depth of your being is really inspirational. And I'm so grateful that I've met you and that I continue to have a relationship with you.
Thank you. Thank you for creating the space that I can be authentic and making me comfortable in doing so. So thank
Oh,
you.
it's my absolute pleasure. Okay.